Americans eat dinner at 6 p.m. Rush through lunch in 20 minutes, feel guilty about napping, and call it a productive day. In Andalusia, they haven't even thought about dinner at 6 p.m. Lunch lasts 2 hours minimum. The entire city closes from 2 to 5 in the afternoon, not because of a crisis, but because that's when you eat, rest, and live. This 10-day road trip through southern Spain is not just an itinerary. It is a direct confrontation with every assumption you hold about how a day is supposed to work. You're watching Escaped Europe. Stay with me, because somewhere around day 6 of this route, I'm going to show you something that happens in one specific city in Andalusia that has no equivalent anywhere else in Europe. And it will make everything I just said make perfect sense. The route: Seville, Ronda, Cordoba, Granada, Malaga. Fly into Malaga, pick up a car and drive west. Fly home from Malaga or Seville. No backtracking, no wasted days. Distances are short. The longest stretch is 2 hours. But the driving itself is part of the experience. Olive groves for miles, then suddenly a white village on a hilltop that looks like it fell off a canvas. One non-negotiable before we start: book your Alhambra tickets before you leave home. Months before. They sell out completely and consistently. You need your passport on arrival, not optional, not negotiable. Miss this, and you miss the best thing in Spain. Write it down. Seville, days 1, 2, and 3. Seville is the capital of Andalusia and the most complete version of Spain you will find anywhere. Moorish palace, Gothic cathedral, flamenco on a Tuesday night in a bar no tourist has ever found, and a rhythm that will immediately, gently, disorient you. Lunch here is the main meal of the day. It starts at 2:30 in the afternoon. It takes at least 90 minutes. The menu del dia, 3 courses, bread, wine, coffee, costs 12 to 16 euros. If you try to eat lunch at noon, you will find the restaurant still closed and the locals looking at you with polite confusion. At 9 p.m. in America, you are already in pajamas. In Seville, the restaurant has not opened yet. The real Alcazar is the other must-book in advance. It is not a museum about history. It is a functioning royal palace with gardens that seem architecturally impossible. Wander the Triana neighborhood across the river for dinner, ceramic workshops, old flamenco bars, and 0 souvenir shops. Hotel in the historic center, 80 to 110 euros per night. Cheaper than Madrid, cheaper than Barcelona, significantly cheaper than anywhere in Northern Europe. Ronda, day 4. 1 hour east of Seville, Ronda sits on a plateau split by a gorge 100 meters deep. The Puente Nuevo Bridge crosses it with the kind of casual architectural confidence that only comes from 18th century engineers who had no idea they were building a landmark. Have lunch at a restaurant with a balcony over the gorge. This is not a metaphor. You will be eating salmorejo, cold tomato soup, Andalusia's answer to gazpacho, while looking down 100 meters into a river. That experience costs 25 euros. 30 minutes from Ronda, Setenil de las Bodegas, a village where houses have been built directly into and under massive rock overhangs since the 15th century. People live there. It is not a museum. Have a coffee at a bar where the ceiling is a solid rock cliff. This is the Spain the Guidebook mentions in passing, and the Spain that stays with you forever. Before we get to Cordoba and Granada, I want to plant something in your head that will explain why day 7 of this trip is the day that most people describe as the one that changed something. Granada is the only city in Europe where every drink you order, a beer, a glass of wine, a soft drink, anything, comes with a free tapa, not a small pretzel. A real portion of food, a plate of albondigas, a slice of tortilla, a bowl of salmorejo. This is not a promotion. It is how Granada has functioned for centuries. A full evening, 4 drinks, 4 tapas, a complete meal by any reasonable standard. Total cost, 10 to 12 euros per person, in a plaza built in the 14th century at 10:30 at night, with the Alhambra lit up on the hill above you. That is day 7. And it is the reason people who do this route come home and quietly start looking at plane tickets for next year. Cordoba, Day 5. 1,000 years ago, Cordoba was the largest city in the world. 1 million people lived here when London had 10,000. The Great Mosque, the Mezquita, was built to reflect that scale. 856 columns of marble and jasper, candy-striped arches stacked too high, stretching further than you can see. In the 13th century, a cathedral was built inside it. The result is one of the most architecturally bizarre and beautiful spaces in existence. Entry costs €13. Arrive before 9 a.m. The doors open early for free prayer time, and the building is yours, almost entirely empty in the morning light. The difference between experiencing the Mezquita at 8:30 a.m. and at 11 a.m. is the difference between a revelation and a queue. Cordoba is smaller than Seville. 1 full day is right. Walk the Jewish quarter after the Mezquita. Find the Calleja de las Flores, a narrow alley where the walls are covered in flower pots that bloom in spring. Lunch on Calle San Fernando, away from the tourist axis. Budget €90 for the day, including entry, lunch and dinner. If this kind of itinerary is what you have been looking for, real pacing, honest prices, the version that the locals actually live, subscribe to the channel. This is what we build here. The Alhambra at sunrise. You booked months ago, you have your passport, and you are inside the Nasrid palaces before the tour groups arrive. The plasterwork on the walls is so detailed it looks like it was carved by a machine. It was not. It was carved by hand over decades by craftsmen who knew no one would see most of it up close. That level of attention to invisible beauty is something that 13th century Granada considered normal. Outside the palace, spend your afternoons in the Albaycin, the old Moorish quarter built into the hillside opposite the Alhambra. Narrow streets, whitewashed walls, cats sleeping in doorways. The Mirador de San Nicolas at sunset gives you the Alhambra against the Sierra Nevada, still capped with snow into June. This is the photograph you will look at for years. And the evenings. 4 drinks, 4 tapas, €10. Order at the bar. Stand or sit outside. Let it take 2 hours. This is not slow because you are on vacation. This is slow because this is the pace at which the city has decided human beings should eat and talk and exist. What city do you think changed your life most? Or what city are you most afraid to visit because you know it will? Drop it in the comments. We read everyone. Most people fly through Malaga without stopping. This is a mistake. Malaga is where Picasso was born, and the Picasso Museum here, housed in a 16th century palace in the old city, has 233 works donated by his family. Entry €12. The Alcazaba fortress is a 10-minute walk uphill and free after 2 p.m. on Sundays. Malaga also has the best seafood on this route. Espetos, sardinis grilled on skewers over an open fire on the beach, are sold at chiringuitos along the waterfront for €6 to €8 a portion. Eat them standing up, looking at the Mediterranean. This is the last meal of the trip, and it requires no reservation, no planning, and no more than 15 minutes. Andalusia had 37.9 million visitors in 2025. Record numbers. And the locals, the ones who have watched their neighborhoods change and their rents rise, have a word for what they feel about the version of tourism that arrives, photographs everything and leaves without understanding anything. They call it turismophobia. The antidote to that is not staying home. It is going differently. Eating when they eat. Sleeping when the city sleeps. Sitting in a plaza at 10:30 at night with a glass of wine that cost €2.50 and a plate of food that came with it for free, and letting the night take as long as it wants. That is not a vacation habit. That is a life philosophy. And the question this road trip leaves you with is not, where should I go next? It is, why don't I live more like this already? If somewhere between the Mezquita at 8 a.m. and the tapas in Granada at 11 p.m. that question stopped feeling rhetorical, we have exactly what you need next. Because every single person who does this road trip reaches a moment, usually somewhere between a glass of wine in Granada and the drive out of Ronda, where the question stops being, where should I travel next, and becomes something else entirely. Something quieter and more serious. Could I actually live here? That question deserves a real answer. Not a fantasy, not a relocation brochure. A genuine side-by-side look at what visiting Spain feels like versus what living in the right part of Spain actually looks like. We built that video. It is called Holiday in Madrid versus living in Valencia, the real difference. And if that thought crossed your mind even once on this route, it is right here. I will see you inside.